technically, it's the Podfix network. Hello and welcome to the 159th version of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try to F it up. In our very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director and producer. And I'm delighted that we have on this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast, Bernhard Pucher. He is the director of the fantastic fun comedy horror feature film Ravers. It is an absolute blast, and we go into detail about how he made that, how he got his amazing cast of Danny Carraine and Natasha Henstridge and all the other amazing cast, how he managed to make the infected, the zombies, but we can't say zombies, the infected, to look so amazing, how he got all the CGI effects, how he got all the fire and the great stunts and the fun camera work. We also talk about shortlisting your film and how he wished he'd worked his way up through filmmaking and by being a runner, because freelance work was tough, and we all know that, and how he raised his decent budget to make this fantastic film Ravers, which is out now. That is all to come for you on this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. I am delighted to tell you that The Dare is doing very, very well out there in the US and Canada right now. So if you are in those territories and you are able to go watch my movie The Dare, which I co-wrote with Johnny Grant and I directed, then please do. It means the world to me. If you've already watched it, let us know what you think, because it's available on so many platforms. It's on iTunes, on Amazon, on PlayStation, on Google Play, on the list goes on. Pretty much anywhere that you can go get it. Search The Dare, and Richard Brake, who's this horror legend. If you like your horror, you know who he is. We're getting some lovely reviews. So, like I say, if you haven't watched it yet, please do so. And if you have, go give us a nice review on Amazon or iTunes. It really does make a difference. We fly up the charts. So thank you for doing that. And for me doing this self-promotion bullshit that I have to do before every show. But if I don't, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it to inspire filmmakers like yourself. Speaking of which, we're doing the next Make Your Film event. For those of you who had listened to last week's episode, it was live from the Make Your Film event itself. And we're doing another one. It is next Monday the 20th, or this Monday the 20th, and it is with the screenwriters behind A Quiet Place. That is right, Beckham Woods, the screenwriters of A Quiet Place, the creators of A Quiet Place. They also wrote and directed the feature films Haunt and Nightlife. Haunt came out last year, and it is a delight. Do seek it out. All proceeds from the Make Your Film event, because we do have to charge a small amount, will go to film and TV charity. So there you go. So that's what we're doing. All proceeds will go to film and TV charity to help support creatives and filmmakers. Join us next Monday, 6 p.m. British time. So wherever you are in the world, you can join us as well. Other guests are about to be announced. Link to that is in the show notes. Do join us. It's the Make a Film event. It's going to be brilliant. And we're going to talk about, obviously, how life is tough right now. And it is. It's difficult. It can be depressing. It can be deeply disappointing right now, especially if you had a project that was about to go, especially if you, as a filmmaker, felt that you were on the upward trajectory and it's all come crashing down. It can be really depressing. I know. I feel it too. I can only hope we all come out of this stronger. But if you are struggling, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free. Contact me at Giles Alderson or at FilmmakersPod, and I'll happily have a chat with you. If you're struggling, please don't feel alone. If you're in a small bed sit on your own, please do reach out to whoever and whomever. But I'm letting you know I'm available for you, and I'll answer any questions about how you can get your film made. I mean that. Contact me at Giles Alderson or at FilmmakersPod. DM me. I will follow you back if you're a filmmaker, and let's get in touch, and I can help you if I can, and keep your mind in the right place. That's what I think right now, because if we think about it too much, it can really get us down, this whole corona COVID-19. It really can. So keep positive, keep focused, and if you can, be grateful for your health and your creativity, and make the most of it right now. So again, thank you everyone who supported last week's episode at the Make Your Film event. Join us on April the 20th, next Monday. Right, if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy it in any way, do tell your friends and like, subscribe and all that jazz, and retweet us. For now, though, here is this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast with a fantastic director, Bernhard Pucher. Enjoy.
All right, good. So, yeah, good. I'm ready when you are.
I love that. How are you, buddy? You all right? I mean, are you surviving generally? I know you've now started to do the video blogs, but are you surviving?
Well, I feel like I'm in my movie now. I should be acting like Becky and just like rubbing hands and everything.
Isn't this the perfect time for Ravers to come out? Because in a way, because people are looking for these sort of apocalyptic zombie, something happening, contagion type films, and Ravers is exactly that. I mean, it's that.
God, I got terribly lucky on this. I mean, if you think about it like this, before we'd have to compete with a whole lot of other things, right? Like for the attention of a whole lot of other things. But now people are definitely home. So people are definitely looking for stuff to entertain themselves with. And, you know, here's a movie that deals with a germaphobe who's basically been right all along, shall we say. Yep. So with this whole thing, she was the one person that had it all figured out. But then we put her through hell in the process. Plus, you know, you can't go out, so now you get to have a party movie with a rave soundtrack, all that jazz, you know. So if for a good fun watch, it's not a bad shot. My personal recommendation. I'm biased, but yeah, have a look.
Well, why wouldn't you be? Do you know what I mean? It's a great film. It is fun. I really enjoyed it. The comedy's great.
Thank you.
The acting was fantastic. VFX, all that sort of stuff was just top notch. It looked great, and I imagine it was a modest budget.
The budget was limiting. You know, I mean, we had more in the script than we can do, and we were hoping to get away with it, but there were several times when it kind of bit us, you know. It's not I mean, put it this way, Blumhouse movies don't have big budgets, but they would have had just enough to make this work, and we were below that, you know. So
it's one of those things, isn't it, as filmmakers, that we sort of go, well, we should be all right. We go, this is our budget.
Yeah,
this is what we're setting out to do. Yeah, no problem. You get there and you go, we can't pull the arm off like we wanted to, or we can't have that much gore there because that's not our floor to put blood on. Whatever it is, all these little tiny things you don't think of when you're writing it or prepping it that come up when you're there on set. And it's, God, they really do floor, you know, us as creatives and directors. And fuck.
No doubt. I mean, it's the two things that were working against us the most were three things actually were working against us the most when it comes to this. One was time. There's only so much time that you have, and with the amount of stunts and action set pieces and stuff like that we wanted to do that were in the script that aren't in the movie. That we had to work around, we simply had to strip it back. Extras was another one. I basically had one day to film all my scenes with the big shots for the extras. So basically,
no way.
Yeah, it was one full day where you saw the wide rave, and we basically just filmed the necessary angles from each scene. Yeah. So we can have our jib there and everything. And that was the one day where we were at all of them. And the rest of the time I was on a third of that, you know, and I had to cheat my way through it. And there were several instances where that wasn't enough. And we had to find a way to the one thing you will notice with any movie is that the wider the camera angles are, the bigger the budget is.
That's so true. I never thought of it that way.
It's completely true. It's like wide angles cost money. You know, if you want to show shit in a wide angle, pardon my French if I'm not allowed to curse here. But if you want to show it in a wide angle, that's going to cost money. So the narrower the lower your budget is, the tinier your lens gets, or the longer your lens gets per se. But so yeah, I noticed that a lot. Like I have in the middle of the movie, I have a gantry sequence, you know, where the whole thing sort of collapses collapses down. That gantry was in the script over twice the length than it ended up being.
Right.
Then the gantry was supposed to collapse about 45 degrees downwards, and it collapsed about 5 degrees downwards because that's all we could do. So I had to cheat my way around that.
Cheat it.
Yeah. It's and then we were supposed to have the one thing that was planned from the get-go, but ended up we just couldn't pull it off, was at least one wide angle of the thing collapsing. It was too big of a thing to pull off practically, because the stage we were in, we could not safely mount the stunties at the top. So even have like a breakaway, because obviously you can't actually collapse a metal one. That's horrendously dangerous. So you have to basically collapse a styrofoam one or something, balsa wood, something light, that if it falls down, it's not gonna send shockwaves through the whole stage, right? But in order to do that, we need to safely rig the stunt performers that were standing on it, like under the apostrophe standing on it, could fall down, and then we could get a wide shot of that happening, except we couldn't rig them up there. So we're like, okay, so we can't do that. I need at least an impact. So, get me like the second half of the fall. I just want to see the bottom part of the fall land. So I don't need the full swing. I don't need to see the people at the top. I just need to see the impact on the floor. And then I couldn't have that. And it was just one thing after the other that we just couldn't do, for various restrictions. The ambitions were grand. And unfortunately, time and budget were not. And we basically had to focus on what was essential. And what was essential is you can see a clear moment when we started having money again, which is when the throat gets slit. I don't want to give any spoilers.
No, we
here.
don't know who it is. We're not saying
exactly,
who it is,
but when the throat gets slit after that, you start seeing effects and all sorts of stuff again. You know what I mean? And everything before that was us trying to have as little of that as possible so we can get to that part of the movie. Because from that onwards, we've got full body prosthetics, we've got a full body burn, we've got a whole bunch of fights, we've got body explosions. So we've got everything is in that finale. We've got effects on hands, hallucinations, like everything is in that finale. And we couldn't compromise on that. So we had to basically reallocate whatever resources we had to ensure this finale sat. And that unfortunately meant that things like the gantry sequence, which is easily the most expensive sequence in the movie, because of the amount of extras and stunts and this rig and blah blah, is the most expensive in the movie. The resources got drained from that, in order to accommodate our finale. Because actually, you know who said it best? Kevin Feige said it best. He said, "Stick the landing." You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whatever you do, whenever you've done with it, that needs to work.
That's so true, because that's what people go away from the movie remembering. You can forget bits in the middle. If you had an amazing stunt in the middle, you'd go, well, that was cool halfway through, but to the end, you'd forget about that if the end was terrible or a terrible stunt. Or
absolutely,
CGI
and you don't want to blow your load in the middle of the movie either by having your best bit in the middle, and then the ending bit is not anywhere near as good as your best bit in the middle.
I think what we have to do as sort of these creative people is constantly compromise our vision. This is what we do every day, is work out the best way that I'm going to compromise this, making it look good and surviving and making the film actually stand up, because as independent filmmakers, that is what we have to do.
Yeah, and the problem is not really the fact that there's not enough money. There's never enough money,
No, it's very true.
The problem is how far your ambitions exceed your abilities to do it, and that those abilities to do it include, financial resources, and they also include your own experience, and how much you know and how much you've learned and stuff like that. It also includes the people you're working with. How experienced are they, and how much can they bring to the table? How much time do you have with them, etc., etc. And that was one thing that always sort of works against you. And the best directors are the ones that can mold those things together despite the fact that they don't seem to fit. and then by the end of it, you sit there and go, actually, that looks perfectly intentional. And we directors sit there going, no, it's not. I don't know why you think this was intentional. I couldn't point the camera this way. I couldn't point the camera that way. This is all it could do. And if you think that's intentional, sure, it's in the movie because I had to put it in there.
We'll take it.
But that's what it is. And sometimes those are your best bits.
Obviously, I want to talk more about Ravers.
Yes.
But I think it's really interesting to jump back and how you got to Ravers, because Ravers was shot really, really well. It looks beautiful. It's a very accomplished feature film. And I'm very pleased to have you on the podcast talking about it. So, but our listeners love, as I do, is how we actually got there. How did we start? How did we manage to survive and thrive to get to the point where we can actually make a feature film like that? So, and I know you've made a feature film before this, Betsy and Lennard.
Yeah.
But let's jump back even further, because you're a DJ producer, DJ yourself. How did you weave your way? What's your journey to becoming a filmmaker?
I went to Dallas, where I went to the Art Institute, and I learned multimedia design, which at the time I was designing interfaces for CD-ROMs, man. Like,
wow.
I'm telling you, this was in DVD and CD-ROM interfaces, along with websites at resolutions of 640 by 480 screen size. I'm telling you, this was pioneering stuff.
Indeed. Your life was complete at that point.
Oh, I'm telling you. But then in 1999, several things happened. One, a slew of absolutely brilliant movies came out. I mean, one after the other. It was, and 5 of them I have tattooed on my arm.
Are you joking?
Yeah,
that's incredible. Right, I want to know which ones.
Hold on. Let me see if I can make this easily visible.
Well, it's good for the podcast.
So there you go. This is Eyes Wide Shut. So there's the.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite films. Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut.
That.
So that's Eyes Wide Shut.
That's an amazing
right there.
tattoo. So it's hard to describe. Can you describe it?
It's the guys with the hats in the ceremony at the end, like the ceremony, the sex party. And it's and when Tom Cruise basically gets exposed for the first time, and it's these 2 people that turn their hats downwards from the balcony, looking straight at Tom Cruise. That creepy ass shot is those 2. So I got that one. Then, I don't know if you can see this one here. That is the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my gosh, that's an incredible tattoo. It's basically a woman with it back to, if you've not seen Blair Witch, it's the end of the movie. Stood in the corner. Woman stood there. Yeah,
and then I've got the Matrix here. That's the hands grabbing the red pill.
Wow.
And then the really thing that's going to be harder to show is see the red rose? That's American Beauty.
Love it.
And then I've got back here, let's see if you can recognize this.
Alex and Bob. Oh, so wait.
No, it says, it's a name tag that says Bob. And it's...
so then it's Fight Club.
Fight Club, exactly.
Whoa!
And so... And those
they all came out in 99.
They came out in succession of each other, very close, and that's just the 5 that had the most impact on me. I mean, that year we're talking Being John Malkovich, Toy Story 2, Sixth Sense. I mean, the list of films from that year is staggering, And so I was, of course, as a 19-year-old, I was smack dab in the middle of it, in love with everything that came out in cinema. And then the film that changed everything was the Blair Witch Project, because of all the movies that I saw, Blair Witch was achievable. Like, it was a film I could actually do.
Yes.
And
there you go. And it inspired a lot of filmmakers.
It's completely true, because the idea was brilliant. Afterwards, when I looked up that this was basically that these guys did for 10 grand or whatever it was, or if even less. And this is, of course, $1999, $10,000, but still, it was nothing. And suddenly, so all these amazing movies came out that were all genuinely brilliant, plus this one that was actually something that I could do. And of course, there was a slight envy in me that went, why didn't I have this idea? This is a brilliant idea.
A lot of people did that too.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Like, I should have had that idea. And then the thing that put the dot on the I of everything is that in my graphics design school, I took a video production class where we had to sort of, by the end of it, shoot and edit a short film, you know. And,
right, and you were like, right,
and
this
so
is
it. That was it. I was like, no, I'm going to film school. I finished that year was my last year of graphics design school. I went to the University of North Texas to do radio, television, film production, and as my undergrad there. And that was it. It's been film ever since. I've never looked back.
I love it. And you went to London Film School, right?
Yeah. After I finished my undergrad in Texas, I didn't really want to stick around in the US anymore.
How come? Did you feel that London was a better place in terms of your creativity?
I had political reasons why I didn't want to be in the US anymore, specifically Texas. The 2 years were really exciting, and I learned a lot while I was there. And so it's definitely a very sort of key moment to have gone there, simply because several people that I still work with I met at the film school,
which is really nice. And you actually made your first feature, as far as I can see, about 6 years after that. So during that time, were you making shorts, to develop your craft, or were you always trying to make a feature during that time?
I mean, I graduated from the London Film School at the end of 2007, and I'd already set up a shop as a freelancer immediately after that, which is a big mistake. I don't recommend it to anybody.
Okay, tell us more. Why is that?
It was hard to get off the ground with no connections whatsoever. I basically, like, the first year or two was junk work. It wasn't even, can't even say I did corporates. Like, I did anything, you know. I was anything. Yeah. I wasn't even filming, dude. Like, there were things. I was sound engineering at music festivals and tattoo conventions and all sorts of stuff, just working the mixing desk. Seriously, I did a Pfizer event in a hotel once, you know, like a corporate. But operating the mixing desk with like 2 microphone channels. It was the most dull, boring, best paying gig I've ever done, you know.
We've all had
it's pharma money, man, pharma money.
I see.
And so yeah, it was the first 2 years were very hard. And in hindsight, I wished I'd become a runner somewhere and just
that's interesting.
Work my way up, make some more connections, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I landed a couple of big corporate clients that I had something fairly solid in place. And then by 2010, I started teaming up with 2 friends who I'm still working with, and that's allowed the bread and butter side to kind of sit in there. But one of the friends that I teamed up with, I told him, said, dude, I want you to work with me. And he had worked for another feature film production company before. And that is a whole separate story. I'll let him tell you.
Right, okay.
And so he wanted to get as far away from feature films as possible. And so because he knew I was doing well with my stuff, he asked, hey, look, can I work for you? I'm looking for some bread and butter. I'm like, yeah, but I want to make feature films.
And you don't want to anymore.
So if you want to work with me, you have to help me make my first feature. And he said, fine. Okay, you give me bread and butter, I'll give you a feature. How about that?
Fine. Yeah, you're like, yep.
That's great. So, here I had a guy who had financially structured feature films of larger size than anything that I was planning on doing initially, and suddenly, you know, it felt far more realistic that I could actually pull this off, because every short film that I was doing before, I basically, in my head, in my very, very delusional head at this point, I graduated film school, said, I'm going to make one more short film, and then I'm going to make my feature film. Yeah. And that's it, you know, because my short film is going to be so brilliant that people are just going to buy into it. That's what I thought getting out of London Film School. And by the way, that was stupid back then, and it's stupid now. Anybody who thinks that needs to stop thinking that immediately. There's no single project that's suddenly going to do it, you know, absolutely not.
No, absolutely. There was a when we were trying to make a film we were producing a while ago that we had written, we ended up meeting an Oscar-winning short film maker, and we liked him. But in the end, the execs said, no, he's not made a feature, not a chance. So even an Oscar-winning short filmmaker didn't stand a chance in the room with the execs. They just went, no, why would we? Let's get someone who's made a film. Yeah, and these people who do, I'm going to raise 20, 30 grand to make another short. I go, why?
Don't
you can
do
make
that.
a feature for that, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can sell that around the world. And you've made a feature.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I was like, I mean, I'm not sure what kind of feature you can make at 20 grand, but you can make one and you can say, look, it's 90 minutes and it's there. So the likelihood of upgrading to a bigger feature after that is much higher. I mean, without Betsy Lennard, which was £80,000 in terms of production budget, without that, I would have never been able to do Ravers. Like, nobody would have ever looked at me and given me 2 million to basically do Ravers, and that's it. There
you go. That says it on. Betsy Lennard was your first feature as a director. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I think it's very important for our listeners, not to brush over this, to actually, how did that feel? What did you go through to raise the 80K and to actually, make it? How did that feel as a director to go, I am making a feature film?
It, bizarrely enough, the thing I learned the most from that. Okay, let me start off how the whole thing sort of got started. It's basically Luke Foster is a guy I did a short film with at the London Film School. So I knew him from then, and he was in the very first year that the London Film School had a writing program. So I approached him in the writing program saying, "Hey, look, do you want to write a short film for my production class?" I didn't consider myself a writer at all, even though I've written. I still don't consider
that's what they want to do. That's their job.
So
get on with it.
I'll let somebody do it who's really good at it, And so I thought, I'm going to approach him. Do you have anything? I'd love to make it. We ended up working together on it, and that was really good. It was a very enjoyable collaboration that I had with Luke, and I still work with Luke now. And then after we graduated, I basically saw an article. I saw a news article about this guy who was sentenced to several months house arrest and ended up putting down his girlfriend's parents' address. And they basically just dumped him there without checking whether they could or not. And they had to keep him there because the process of getting rid of him would have taken longer than the sentence. So he was under house arrest at his girlfriend's place, at his girlfriend's parents' place, and they couldn't get rid of him. And I thought, that is the perfect premise to a story.
It's great, and plus it's one location mainly.
I know, it's like all the bells, all the boxes were being ticked. Like the moment I read this, so I thought, okay, let's do this. So I approached Luke, said, "Hey, look, I have this premise. Mm-hmm. What can we do with it?" And so we basically came up with this idea of having this guy who has to serve 6 months house arrest in his ex-girlfriend's apartment, so he used to live there. That's the address he is registered with. Right now he's bunking with his mates, so he's not registered there. And so he gets done in for trying to sell some weed again, and ends up being put under house arrest. And the address he's registered with is his ex-girlfriend's, and he doesn't say that's wrong. So he basically gets installed there, and then of course she suddenly finds her ex-boyfriend permanently installed in her flat, and he basically can't leave. He's under quarantine.
Quarantine right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's another movie, guys, you can watch.
Absolutely. Great concept.
Exactly. And so it's this little romantic comedy that we kind of wrote out of it.
So from there, you've got this great concept. Luke's written a really cool script. How'd you go, right, let's go raise the money? What did you do?
Basically, we just borrowed money from everybody we could. I mean,
really? Your friends, families?
Yeah, I mean, my mom basically was the first one to put money up for it.
Wow.
So she was like, I was like, so how much do you need? We need 100 grand. We need 100 grand. She's like, yeah, I'm not giving you 100 grand. But I can give you so and so. I'm not going to say how much it was.
No, yeah, sure.
But I can give you so and so much. You can find the rest yourself. I'll start you off with that. And we're like, okay, fine,
great, because now you've got some money in the pot.
We got something, but it's not like we went to lenders or anything else like that. We were looking for 80 grand. Nobody finances 80 grand movies either, and certainly not in 2011, maybe, but I didn't have connections for this, and basically we just called people up and said, "Hey, look, I'm making a movie. It was a glorious investment opportunity to be part of film. Do you want to be in the movie?" Blah blah blah. So yeah, we begged, borrowed, and stole whatever we could. And the crazy thing is that with those $80,000, we built a set. We built a set.
Holy shit! I thought you shot in a real house. Okay.
No. We built a set.
Well, there's your money.
We basically in Edmonton, we found this warehouse, this old furniture warehouse that was basically empty, and so we rented that for cheap as chips. And Gareth Thomas, my production designer, I met him on a short film where he had, for the budget of like 500 quid, had production designed the entire short film, and that included a boxing ring inside the old Alexandra Palace Theatre. Wow. So what he was able to pull out of no money was just incredible. Like, he really knew how to place things and spend the right money in the right places, just so you can get that this is where this is real. This is the thing.
And Gareth Thomas. Everyone, look him up. Hire him.
Gareth is brilliant. You should absolutely work with him, and he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever work with.
I love it already.
Absolutely, Gareth Thomas. He basically was able to build a really, really wicked set that allowed us to do all the things that were written in the script. And because he also really understood, and this is one thing that a lot of people that aren't part of this forget, that a key element of production design is knowing which directions the cameras look, and breaking up spaces and breaking up flat things and blah blah. So no matter which direction you point the camera, you've always got something interesting to look at. You're never going to face a dull angle,
Exactly.
And that's really sort of the key element to production design, is how do you have a singular flat and turn the camera one way and turn the camera the other way, and suddenly you can create a whole different feel, a whole different look, just by being able to do that, and simply allowing for places for depth and these kinds of things, and while still feeling plausible, and that's really sort of the trick behind the whole thing. And he was really, really clever with the limitations that we had to pull this off with the budget we had, and he came in under budget.
What a legend!
It's absolutely incredible. So that's what I'm saying. Hire Gareth for your production design, because he's amazing.
There you go. But for you as a director, had you prepped everything, all your shots? Did you know the angles? Did you work rehearsals? Did you storyboard? And that feeling of being a feature film director, which I know is incredible moment when you actually go turn over an action on your first day. It really is joyous. And will you run us through sort of that whole process for you? Do you storyboard? Did you really prep?
I went way overboard on my prep on my first movie.
There you go. We all do, right?
I basically, the way I like to do it, I'm not a huge fan of storyboarding. I generally like finding my angles with my actors, so once I see how the actors move, I basically move my camera around them. And it's only key moments where I know I need a shot that does this and I need a shot that does that, but I generally motivate my camera movement around the actors. And which means for me, blocking charts are far more useful. And simply getting a sense of the space in there and designing out where, who and what moves where, and that helped me a lot. And I did every scene on Betsy Lennard, especially on Betsy Lennard, because it was all one location. So I needed to make sure that I'm not repetitive. I'm not constantly the same shot, reverse shot. It's very easy with a dialogue heavy to fall into the same shot, reverse shot situation. So
really
I had to be very aware of making sure that I never, if I'm going to have a shot, reverse shot scene, that I have at least two scenes in between that definitely don't repeat that. And that if I do shot, reverse shot, I choose my direct over the shoulder for this moment, but then I do a bit more so sideways for that moment, and I stick it to a 2-shot for that moment, and you basically just have to make sure you vary it enough to where your film language makes sense with the arc that you're trying to tell, but also you don't bore the viewer with the same stuff that they've just seen a few minutes earlier, despite the fact that the new scene itself might be new. They're watching the same thing, and it starts getting visually dulling, so you need to keep it visually exciting simply by varying it up.
I totally agree with that. I had to do with The Dare, my film that just came out in the US and Canada. Half the movie's set in a basement, so which is 4 corners, which we built in the studio, and it's 4 corners of a wall, and you kind of go, well, how do we make this exciting? So every single scene that we saw them, I changed the camera every single time, whether it was lower, mid, high, different lens, going through the window, my DP Andrew Roger. We just kept playing with that so that every single time we saw them was a new camera setup, a new thing, so that they saw something new for their eyes. Otherwise, it's the same shit over and over and over again.
It's completely true.
Whereas where a lot of filmmakers fall down is they do that. They think, well, we can shoot this in a day, just single, wide, and again, next scene, single, wide. Whoa. So you've really got to think, right? And it sounds like you did that brilliantly on Betsy and Lennard. Was it fun to shoot?
It was great. I mean, I've never in my life had a terrible shoot. Not once has a shoot of mine gone sour. Mainly because if I feel like it's gonna go sour, I know this way earlier. So I don't just plow in with the thinking, no, it'll be fine. Denial in this case is the devil, so it really is, you really need to be aware of, if you're going to walk into what could be a potential shit show, to not walk into it, and then also, if you know something's going to be difficult, is to mitigate those problems as much as possible. And that applies to a corporate shoot as much as it does, to a feature film. That basically is no different. And a lot of that depends on also the crew that you work with. So much, and this is probably the biggest lesson I took away from Betsy Lennard. So much is not up to me on the film. Mm-hmm. Like I am basically like this one little focal point. And it's so many other things going on around me that I have no idea about. And so everybody's doing all this crazy work just to make my little thingamajig happy, Mm-hmm. And so the big thing for me is just, it really, despite the fact that my job is important, it's actually a very small job compared to all the other jobs that need to be done, and how much how much different the pace is for that group of people over here compared to the pace of what mine is. Because, for example, if we take a normal shoot day, I'm sure you're fully aware of this. You show up, and that's basically when the day starts, is when you show up, and that's when you basically move. And maybe you'll have some discussions before then, blah, blah, but everybody's basically waiting for you to do your thing, Sure. And then, of course, the day ends the moment you stop doing your thing, except everybody else has already been there, and everybody else will still be there after you leave.
Yes, 100%.
And that is the case for the entirety of the shoot. Now, granted, most of the people that are on that shoot are not there before it or afterwards. So therefore, your job, you've been part of this thing for years beforehand, just trying to get this thing off the ground, and you'll be part of it for months and months after that, just to finish the thing. So to be directing is a marathon running, It is, and so you have to pace yourself during the shooting to make sure you don't burn out for the finishing part here, But that's the thing that I realized the first time with this shoot, is that my job is not actually focused on this one bit that I'm doing on set, even though the set part's the most exciting part, because you have the cameras and the actors and everything. It's the most exciting. It's brilliant. But it's actually really small, really dense, and very short. And everything else that you're doing is actually, everything else you're doing before that is just there to make sure you don't lose your way during this high intensity dense bit. And then afterwards, it's fixing all the stuff you did wrong during this high intense dense bit, where is making sure that all the stuff that goes right anyway. I mean, I'm sure you could screw it up, but if you're reasonably competent, the stuff that goes right will work just fine. It's the stuff that didn't go right that you have to find a way to work around, and that you have to then sort of mold together like this piece of clay in order to make it look like something, because you could just mold it completely differently and suddenly it looks and feels awful. And that's basically everything after that. And that consistency throughout is really what the key to it is. And that's the thing that I didn't quite recognize until I did Betsy Lennard, is the longevity of what my job is. Because it does feel like, shooting is where the job is. Shooting's the shortest part.
It is, I know. Shooting's the shortest part of making a film.
And
it's
the shortest part, and it's the most fun part for us, and we get to do it so rarely.
So little. It's incredible with directors, and you go, how much time you've been on set this year? Even if you've just done 2 films. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not long. 3 weeks really. Maybe at the most 2 months. You know what I mean? It's like, what?
I envy DPs.
I know, me too, yeah. And actors in some way, but more DPs, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I envy DPs for exactly that reason, is that, I mean, granted, you don't necessarily have sort of the same sort of control that you do as a director, per se, but at least you're on set.
Yeah, and we love being on set.
And being on set is sort of where the real fun is for, at least for me, it definitely is. I know quite a few directors who say, being on set's great and all, but editing is really where it is for them. Because that's where the real storytelling is. I mean,
true.
The set is not the storytelling yet. The set is the
getting it done.
Assembling the puzzle pieces.
Yes,
I mean, you've not actually told any story yet. You're only just like putting building blocks together, and then later on you get to build the house. And there are people that prefer the actual building part, to the assembly part, So, and I get that. I totally empathize with that. Having come from post-production primarily for a long time.
With your CD-ROMs, yeah.
Exactly. With the CD-ROMs. They keep coming back to me, I'm telling you.
No, they do. Do you know what? That was such a brilliant way of describing it. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure our listeners did too. That was really, really interesting. Thank you. So, Betsy and Lennard, right? You shot it, you did the whole post. How did you sell it? Because this is just you guys making it. This is very indie. How did you get it out there in the world?
Unfortunately, it's not really out there in the world. The selling, unfortunately, for this film went a bit sour. And I am looking at, now that Ravers is out the door, to basically try and get Betsy and Lennard back onto platforms.
What happened? Tell us. Yeah.
Now, we had bad luck with our distributors. We were with 3 different distributors, and all of them basically pulled out right before, and this is before Netflix or any of those platforms were around. So basically we had to get DVDs made and all this stuff, and that required financial investments, and that just wasn't possible that wasn't possible, but we got really unlucky with 3 distributors in a row that basically dropped the film. After having accepted it, they basically bailed out again, and then we were working on trying to get the next thing going, and then the film had tiny bit of presence. It had a solid festival run. It had a tiny bit of presence and then went away. And we hadn't really focused, because we were focusing on getting our next projects made. We hadn't really focused on getting more of it done, and so therefore it's whatever modest amount of money it made, it didn't make enough to break even, and so we're looking now at, because we were focusing on keeping the business running and stuff like that, and trying to get Ravers off the ground, we simply said, okay, let's focus on this another time. And I'm basically trying to push to get, I'm going to recut it a little bit. The film did have flaws, and so therefore there are a few things we can fix fairly easily now that would significantly improve the movie.
So what are you going to do? You're going to put it on platforms? You're going to get Film Hub, places like that?
Yeah, exactly. So basically find an aggregator, get it onto platforms, and have people watch it, either for rent or something. I mean, the film came out, the film is now 9 years old, so it's old, but hey, content is always welcome. No,
that's it. It's content, isn't it?
People exactly. So hopefully we can get that thing out there.
Well, especially after the success of Ravers, and it will be successful in some way or another, because it is a brilliant film. It's going to have longevity. People enjoy it. They're going to. You've got a great cast with Danny Carrane, who I know well. I'm in the same fantasy football league as him.
Awesome.
He's great. Yeah, and
I love Danny, man.
Henstridge. Yeah, Danny's ace, isn't he? He's really cool.
It's a great,
Really
easily one of the most professional actors I've ever worked with.
Oh, he'll be pleased to hear that. That's great. Why don't you give people a rundown of the film, and I'll play the trailer. Tell people what it's about.
In short, Ravers is a horror comedy about a germophobic journalist called Becky, and she decides to go on to an illegal rave after her cousin Ozzy invites her along, and she meets a girl that she likes and is compelled to go. But very shortly after, the rave goes to hell when the Ravers drink a contaminated energy drink, and they get trapped inside, and she has to overcome her germophobia in order to get everyone out alive.
Cheers.
Got some kick to it. You came. Drink. Cheers.
You found some. This stuff's awesome. This is the stuff they used to make here. I want all y'all to have some.
What the hell's going on?
They're not zombies, are they? They're not like... more like mutant ravers.
Whatever people are on, maybe that made it worse.
Well, God knows what this guy's on.
We better go.
It's crazy in there.
And there you go. As you can hear by that trailer, it is hilarious, fun, full of raving music. I'll call it that. I used to DJ, so it's difficult to put. It's techno, trance, heavy house, hard house. It's all that sort of stuff, and yeah, it's really, really great. It's really fun. So let's talk about how you managed to, concept is great. I can imagine you'd found the concept easy coming from the DJ background and go, well, look, it's a follow-on. But how did you raise the money? You mentioned 2 million there. That's a substantial amount.
Yeah, no, well, basically that was done via EIS funding and loans. So we basically set up this company called Alive in the Morning, which is a funding platform that we've basically set up, where investors can put in their money and either get EIS guarantees, or they can have a straight cash investment into the film. And we've had sort of a combination of that, so it was along with tax credits, et cetera, so all that jazz. And so de facto cash was much less than 2 mil, of course, so because there's soft monies involved and this and that,
Of course,
but that's effectively what we're looking at. And no, it's not a small amount of money, and but it wasn't enough.
Still never enough. Yeah.
It was never enough. But it's not a small amount of money, but we built a massive set in Cardiff, which is where we filmed it. I really wanted to film in the US. Like, I want to actually film there.
Because it's set in the US, as in everyone's got American accents. Was there a reason for that?
Well, when Luke and I were first developing the story, it was set in the UK. But the thing is that I don't really know the UK rave scene at all. I was a raver in Austria. I was raver in the US, and I was never a raver here. I moved here at 25, and I became a father at 26. So my raving days, even though I was DJing, most of my DJing and raving I'd done was outside of the UK, and so I honestly struggled to contribute anything authentic to it. But then the other thing was that we thought, well, the UK raves, if we make another UK movie, we're gonna fall into foreign film territory, just by virtue of that, And the way I see it is, we wanted to film in the US, and we wanted to cast in the US and stuff like that. So, because it's set in the Midwest in the US, and that's where we wanted to film. But that that quickly became not possible with the amount of money we had. And so we thought, okay, well, what can we do? I still want to set it in the US, and I would feel more comfortable telling an American story, having lived in America. And I mean, you can hear me now. I mean, I don't have an Arnold voice or anything, considering I'm Austrian.
Everyone talks like that.
I can talk like Arnold now if you want.
Yes.
I will kill you. I'll kill you all.
Get down.
Get to the chopper now.
I think yours is better than mine. So.
My mom's actually from that region, so I can get the accent quite okay.
Pretty spot on.
I simply felt more comfortable with it, and then when the idea was broached, should we set it in the UK? Should we set it in the US? The financial argument was American market's a bigger market. Let's appeal to them.
I understand. I did the same with the Dare as well. We obviously wrote it originally English, and I wanted to make it American. I felt it appealed more, making a horror movie that way. I just felt it just made sense to me. I prefer the American sound in horror movies than English people running around. I just do. And I did the same as you. So it's a bigger market. My execs are very happy to do that too. And suddenly now you've got a movie with English people all speaking American accents, and it's, why not?
Why not? And the majority of people won't care. Yeah, I mean, there will be the reviewers that'll be like, yeah, I don't get why this isn't set in the UK. It's everybody's British, why isn't it set in the UK? And if they filmed it in Cardiff, it should be very unconvincingly set in America. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Is the story good? Do you like the characters? Do you enjoy the movie? And also, my movie doesn't take itself particularly seriously either. So if you take it to that level seriously, you kind of miss the point there, man. It's supposed to be fun, and this more so than many other movies. It's just supposed to be good fun,
Yeah, and it is. It's really good fun. It's one of these that gets under your skin. You like the characters. There's a certain point where you think a character might die, and it's just great that they might not spoiling anything. You know what I mean? And that's really good. And it doesn't matter where it's set or the accents. It's about the story, and you go along that journey.
Yeah, the audience, the general audience doesn't care.
No, they don't. So you've got your money. You've now you can cast the movie from. I mean, you shot in Cardiff. I shot my King Arthur movie, Arthur and Merlin, in Cardiff just about 4 months ago.
Oh, nice.
So the whole experience for you was it? What did you learn from your first film that you brought here to Ravers? What did you change in terms of you as a director? Because it's 6 years later, maybe ish, that you filmed this.
Well, Betsy Lennard and Ravers are two completely different beasts. I mean, it hit me on the first day of pre-production how different of an animal Ravers is going to be is when I sat down in Pinewood Studios, which was completely empty at that point. And this is Pinewood, Wales, Pinewood, Cardiff. And I'm sitting in the production offices, and I've got my little office, and I'm looking out at this massively long, empty room, which is going to be filled with people working on my movie. And right now it's empty. And this was in January, and right now it's empty. And in with Betsy Lennard, we were in my basement office where we could fit 3 people, and we were 10 in the middle of the warmest April that ever existed in 2011. It was a whole month of summer. Actually, if you do get to see Betsy Lennard, it is the sunniest portrayal of London ever. We had no single drop of rain. We didn't have a single cloud for the entire 3-week shoot, and so it looks like it's a town by the sea. It's sunny and gorgeous, prettiest London ever. Anyways, so we skipped to Cardiff, where it's raining all the time. Oh yeah, right? Constantly.
Every day on King Arthur was raining.
Absolutely, I was no different with us. We had the snow.
Oh,
we were in the middle. Remember that massive snow that debilitated the country 2 years ago?
Yes.
That our production got shut down because of that snow.
Oh,
yeah. We lost 1.5 shooting days from it and had to make up for it later. And and without extending the schedule because we couldn't do that.
You can't
We went from a 5-day week to 2 fortnights. So not fortnights. Was it 2 6-day weeks? Just to make up for it. And a 6-day week is awful. I don't recommend it to anybody, and I think producers need to stop recommending it or thinking that it's possible. You're burning your crew.
It's not fair on the crew. Yeah, as we as directors and the sort of that leading the ship, if you like, some of the actors, it's okay because we're powering through it. But for the rest of them, it's really not fair. It's really tough.
Remember what I said earlier about the day starts earlier and ends later for everybody else? Well, they have to do that 6 days a week, and it's a completely different animal. And I honestly, when we were doing our full weeks, our normal weeks, the crew was on it, and you could tell when the 6-day week started coming in that by the 6th day in that week, they were just a bit more tired. And then, of course, they only get 1 day to rest. And then on the Monday after that, they're just that bit more tired because they didn't get to rest. It's just, you see it and it's there, and and I think it's not actually cost effective to do it because you end up with a lesser product. And so I'd never recommend it to anyone unless you're filming for 3 weeks. Then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But if we filmed for 6, we filmed for 6 weeks.
You filmed for 6? Oh, wow.
We had to.
Wow, that's a big shoot. You had to.
Yeah,
right?
we had to. There was no way to do all the stuff we were doing because we had stunts, effects, a big set. We have a fairly large cast, and a lot of intercutting between different scenes. We had a full body burn. There's a lot of stuff that takes a lot of time. And 6 weeks wasn't enough time to do that. That's what I'm saying. It was a fairly big shoot. But it wasn't big enough to do everything.
I know what you mean. Well, let's talk about that because you're infected people. They look incredible.
Yeah. Dan Martin is a genius.
Dan Martin does. Right.
He's absolutely brilliant. The stuff he did for us with the budget that he had, which wasn't particularly high, but just a very, very clever use of the face masks and stuff like that. And then we had to work together with our VFX department to try and make those things more alive, so they move a little bit and they react a little bit so they don't seem too much like a mask, but that we only had to do that every now and then. Most of the time, especially the really good stuff that was in camera, the A masks, those were all brilliant,
Wow.
And as I said, Dan is just awesome.
It makes a difference having someone really good at that, and I think that's any indie filmmaker out there. Don't scrimp on those bits. Don't scrimp on, like you say, you do a 5-day week and get a brilliant production designer and a brilliant person who's very good with the VFX and makeup and stuff, so that you can really go on camera. This looks great. You now don't have to go, we've got to put the lights down a bit. We shoot from further back on a longer lens. All that stuff. This way you can go, well, if I need a big close-up, look at this. This looks great. So you had that, and then you also had fire and stunts. I mean, these are big stuff going on here, and lovely camera work as well. How did you do all that sort of stuff? You plan specifically where fire's going to be because it's dangerous as hell.
Well, obviously, my basic philosophy of I'll move the camera with the actors can't apply to things like stunts and effects and stuff like that. They need to know beforehand where you're going to point stuff. So that had to be storyboarded, of course. And I did that, of course. But another big lesson that I learned that's very different to Betsy and Lennard. It's because with Betsy and Lennard, it's because it was a small movie. Even though we had, all the departments were present, they were just very compact. There was one person per department. Effectively, that's what it was at Betsy and Lennard. But on Ravers, because it was a much bigger production, I didn't quite realize how important the shot list is as a bureaucratic device, because it is the thing that production hangs its hat on. It's the thing that says, this is what we're going to do. Everybody works to that. And if you don't have it, everybody gets to have an excuse as to why things don't work or why things aren't this and why things aren't that. It is it is gospel. It is the Bible that you have to basically work with. And if you then change things as the director, you've changed the shot list, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But every other department is covered. You know, they are all good. On Betsy and Lennard, that's exactly what we had to do, though, is that my blocking charts were good. And it showed where the cameras were, and I had my shot list and everything. But in the end, everybody simply waited for me to show them where the shots are. You know what I mean? They didn't read the shot list. They didn't read the blocking charts. Basically just said, like, when it came time to film, what to do the next scene, I went into the scene and they said, okay, show us where the shots are. Assistant director, everybody's present. I said, okay, we're going to do one from here, one from here, one from here, from here. And then we decide in which order we're going to do it. That's it. And that was basically it. Nobody gave a crap about what the exact shot list was, you know, because we decided then and there what we did. And often we had to throw out what the original idea was because we couldn't really do it that way anyway, you know. So like midway through the movie, I stopped doing all this mental preparation, where I wrote all these blocking charts and all these shot lists if I was changing a lot of this stuff and showing them anyway, you know. And I had a really good idea for what I wanted this movie to be to begin with, and so I marked down the stuff that was really important for the narrative that I had to get, and everything else I said, shot, reverse shot for this. I'll figure it out. You know, I mean, I'll find the angle. You know, that's what I did on Betsy and Lennard, and I can't do that on Ravers because on Ravers everybody needs to know, and I basically went for the majority of the shoot without doing shot lists, because that's what I was used to. And I only did shot lists for stunt sequences, effects, and blah, blah, blah. That's what I did them for. Right. The rest of the time I wasn't doing them. And that, of course, frustrated departments, including production. But here's the thing. Like, for example, in the movie, there's a scene with where you meet the entire cast. It's in the bar. It's right after Becky arrives, and so you meet everybody that's there, including the bad guys, including some of the Ravers, etc., etc. Everybody's in the scene, and it's really dynamic. So there's a lot of movement, people standing around the bar, including people coming in and out. No, it's a very lengthy, wordy scene. It was hard to write. And it was hard to shoot and direct, you know. That was it was impossible to write a shot list for this. You know what I mean? Because everything I would have written would have not been applicable. Because the moment I block the actors, the shot list changes. You know, and sometimes in some places I didn't even have access to the space in order to write a shot list. I would have written something. And I would have had to write it down, you know what I mean? But the problem is, then if that's the case, then everybody's readiness, they get to have an excuse of, well, the director didn't write a shot list, so we didn't know, and that's that, you know. And then of course, then if I did write a shot list and they're preparing for that, and then I change it because, well, it's not working, it's like, well, the director changed the shot list. No. So it's basically everything falls back onto the director, whether you do or don't, but at least everybody's bureaucratically covered with the shot list. And so I'm gonna have to, for whatever future productions there are, I have to write a shot list for everything just to make the bureaucratic paradigm of what is a shoot happy. You know, that is my obligation to the production. You know, it's like paying taxes. You gotta do it.
You've got to do it.
And
it's amazing what we learn, isn't it? It is amazing. We go, every time we think, I've learned loads, or okay, I'm going to be fine. You go, okay, I've learned even more. I'll bring that into the next one and the next one.
And the thing is that you'd think you'd learn the big stuff. You know what I mean? How to cover this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's actually, so what, I can't do this because of that and that. I can't talk to this actor because this actor is an extra, and if I talk to them, that means they are entitled to a higher wage, you know. So therefore the assistant director needs to talk to them, you know, because if I direct them, then suddenly they're entitled to being a higher paid extra, you know. And so I need to not do that, you know, and I didn't know that. Like,
most people don't. I didn't know that. And that must be really difficult when you just want to go, a lovely man over there, can I get you to move forward and can you give me a different reaction?
I mean,
thankfully, you're directing him.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully people aren't dicks, so that didn't happen. You know what I mean? But that is the rules, you know? So, That really surprised me, and it's a lot of these little things that just really surprised me. Whereas the big stuff you learn as you do, and you get to experience it more. It's far more sort of instinctive learning than it is sort of like logical, visceral learning. But when it comes to these things, they just catch you off guard as this. So I can't do this because of that, and. I have to do it like this because of that, Okay, interesting, and that kind of stuff is again, the surprising bits are the things that sort of really stuck with me. And also because my previous experience on the micro budget production, I mean, you can, on the micro budget, you can do whatever you want, basically. You're not obligated to anything. You're not worried about it. You do the shoot however you think you should do it, and that's it. There's no pre-existing rules that state, union this and blah, 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 that, and, so and so and so and so. There's not really much there. You do however you think, and so we did, and that worked fine. And then, of course, I can't necessarily translate that to something bigger, where all these departments that work on hundreds of productions a year, and I am simply just another one. And that's the next thing, that you have to see it like that. And especially in a town like Cardiff, where I'm just one other production of many that comes through there. And as much as they can enjoy themselves being there, you are maybe not forgotten, but they are looking, while you're working on yours, they're also looking at the next one and working on, they are doing a job, and you have to respect that just as much,
I know. And that's a hard thing to weirdly accept at first, because you're like, why aren't you concentrating fully on my dream and my passion to get this film the best it can be? And they go, no, mate, it's a job. It's a job. It's a job. I love you and your project. Great. Good for you. Woohoo. But I'm doing this next week, so I've got to prepare for that. And you're like, what? Because I'm doing this for a year, mate.
How am I not your end all be all?
Yeah. So it's true. We learn so much. It's amazing. It really is. So Ravers, Ravers is out now. Everyone can get it. Is it around the world now? I know it's in the UK.
No,
it's also around the world.
UK only for now. Around the world is going to be in May. Exact release date still to be determined, because we were supposed to have a small cinema release in North America, but that's now not happening. So we need to reassess as to what the exact release date will be. But yeah, it'll be in May. It'll be for rent on all the platforms. And to buy and rent on all the platforms, and then in autumn is when it'll go streaming VOD.
Amazing. Because it's funny, because mine's the other way around. Mine's available now in the USA and Canada, the Dare, and it's not available in the UK until October. So it's like, we're promoting it and selling it and saying, come on, go see it. And you're going, yeah, but not in the UK yet. Just by the way, yeah. So it's a weird thing. Yours is the other way around, which is great, because it means you can get all your cool publicity and your friends now. And then when it goes out in the US and the rest of the world, you can use all that publicity. It's a good thing. It's good.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How involved are you in the selling of it now that it's out? Like, are you now, okay, well, now it's not mine anymore. I'm just sitting there. I can post a couple Facebook things to tell people to watch, but how involved are you now that the film is out?
Yes, I'm heavily involved. Mainly because I really give a shit. But, I'm fully involved. I'm speaking to the distributors all the time about what we're doing. I'm sending stuff to the cast, pictures. I'm actually editing some stuff this weekend, like mini 10-second trailers for the Dare, so that I can keep pushing it out and keep getting an audience. And plus, it's very useful for other territories later down the line, that if I've already done this stuff. But I really want people to see my movie, and I spent so long on it, and people worked so hard on it, that I really want to get it out. So no, for me, I'm tweeting every night, messaging about it, I'm emailing people, constantly. I'm constantly
it's the same thing for me. I'm basically because thanks to my graphics design background, we've saved ourselves the money of hiring graphics designers to do all the artwork, especially for the social media campaign. So that's basically all me. Every short trailer you see, all this stuff. There's one main trailer that we had cut by a trailer house, and then I basically edited all the other ones.
I think that's what we do, right? I think I've not really come across, apart from our big directors who've been on, someone else will do that for them.
Yeah.
But I think all our indie sort of worlds, this is what we do. We go and cut them, and we promote it, and we talk about it, because no one else is going to do that for us because we're just another film in the indie world.
Yeah.
Whereas if we make a splash and we contact PR companies and we contact magazines and podcasts and whatever, then that's how we get known. No, you know what I mean? And for us, it's about carrying on and being a director of something else. And no one's going to know you directed it unless you're saying, hey, I directed this, guys. Did you like it? Cool. Book me for something else. Let's talk. It's true,
completely
though,
that.
right?
It's completely that.
Yeah.
It's not the trickiest bit really is to, because the film was technically finished 2 years ago when we premiered it at Fright Fest, and it did well at Fright Fest, you know. But then it wasn't finished because we had a couple of things that we had to amend in the sound that were problematic because we finished it so quickly. I mean, we finished that film at a pace that you shouldn't really finish a movie, and several things about it irk me because we didn't take the time to finish it properly. Because we basically wrapped the shoot in at the end of March, and we premiered at the end of August.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. We had 8 weeks to edit, and then we were starting to compose at almost the exact same time, do the music, and then we had all the vis effects and everything happening after that, including title sequences and everything. And for Fright Fest, not everything was done. It was done just enough to get it into the festival because we literally finished. Like we outputted the DCP like 12 hours before the festival. It basically got that down to the wire.
Isn't it funny that I find that and the same with actually my Arthur and Merlin project. The same. We finished in November and now we've just delivered. And you kind of go, okay, that's short, it's tight. But yeah, sometimes you just go, well, okay, we're going to have to, this is what we have to do. This is the contract. We have to do this.
Absolutely. I mean, granted, in my case, the finishing quickly for Fright Fest was my call.
But you got into Fright Fest, so also it's like that's a big thing. This is good publicity. This is great. You're in Fright Fest. Of course you're gonna and the Fright Fest guys were really cool with us. You know, thankfully, like half the people on our crew were people that the Fright Fest people knew. You know, so it was like when they came to set in Cardiff, they of course like recognized half the people there. Like, oh, you guys know each other. This is great. This is great. Yeah.
And so they were very receptive to us. Coming to the festival, and then of course when they watched the movie, they were fine with the film and were willing to put it on. In fact, they put it on in the massive IMAX screen, which is mental to watch. I mean, it's aside from the fact that screen in Leicester Square, that IMAX screen is way too big for the seats.
It is, isn't it? It's really
way too
weird.
big. It's like that makes no sense. And like it is completely silly because there's literally 3 rows where that screen works, and the rest of the time it's impossible to watch.
True.
And so but still seeing it on a screen that size with the soundtrack as loud as mine was freaking amazing. You know, it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, and how often do you get to have a movie with as much music in it as I do throughout the majority of it, and it's the music you love, and it's music you don't get to see in movies very often. Plus, it's music and a scene that in movies often gets mistreated so badly. Yes. People have the rave scene in movies always looks awful. It's the worst song. None of the ravers are actually ravers. The DJ is some extra.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, can't actually DJ. Just
you can't
spinning his
DJ
hands.
I mean, seriously, digital DJs like CD DJs and stuff have been the savior of every extra pretending to be a DJ, you know, on screen since, because now they don't have to actually know what they're doing, you know, as the reason why I insisted on having a vinyl DJ in my film, you know, I mean, to make sure that I show somebody actually playing records, and then of course, I wanted something to happen to that person as my own little personal commentary of what happened to the record industry. Yeah.
And that's what do you know what? That's what I really liked about Ravers is that I felt dirty and disgusting watching it. I got the stuff under the nails, and I got that the floor, if you fell on it, was like, oh my God, you know, and the people. And I thought it was brilliant. And I can't wait for people to see this and give you some great sort of reviews. And
thanks, man. Thanks.
Do tweet Bernhard out. Speaking of which, where can people find you and follow you online?
I'm most busiest on Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram is Bernhard Pucher UK. You can find me there. I'm thanks to this whole lockdown business, I'm vlogging movie reviews of my own Blu-ray collection that I've ordered alphabetically. So tune in, have a watch, have a gander. If you want me to review something else, let me know. Facebook and that. I do have a Twitter account, which I do use. I don't use it as much as I do the others. So if you really want to get in touch, Instagram is probably the best one.
There you go. Ravers is available now. Do go check it out if you're in the UK, and obviously come May we should find out, and I'll give you news of when Ravers will be out, the rest of the world as well. Bernhard, thank you so much for your time. This has been brilliant chat. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, man. Much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure. Remember who your audience is and get out there and make your indie film. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. Whatever you're doing in isolation at the moment, whatever it is, hopefully, you're allowed out a little bit. Soon, you are making your film. You're doing your best to do that, whatever it is, writing, whatever. And do get in touch. We are here for you as well. Until next Tuesday. We will see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.